Can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Mark Gregg.
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin.
Here.
Councilmember Henry Rosenthal.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
And Mayor Buddy Pinder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And I've asked the chief to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Okay. We'll have a short prayer here and we'll get rolling here on public comment. Huh? Okay. Lord, we thank you for this awesome day that you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And Lord, we just ask your blessing over this meeting, all that are here, and representing the residents, the council, all the family members, that everybody that's here, staff. We just ask your blessing to be upon us, and we just ask that you would help us, lead us, and guide us in all that we do. And we just thank you for this awesome day. In your name, amen. Okay. Public comment. We have anybody signed up, Marnie, for public comment?
Yes, we do. We have Van Cadenhead, and I don't know if there's anyone on Zoom. But we can start with Van.
Before he starts, Mr. Mayor, I have just a question.
Okay.
Are we having public comment on the two different parts of the agenda, or is it just going to be one public comment at the beginning and then, I don't care, just want to know how we're doing it because I think I know someone that wants to speak.
Okay, well, right here it says, as the items on the agenda are discussion items, speakers wishing to comment on the village manager position should do so during public comment.
Okay.
I would treat this one as general public comment.
Okay.
And then I would treat item 5, I would open that up for public comment. That's the item, I look at item 4 as a discussion amongst yourself about the candidates. Item 5 I look at as your action item, which is whatever action you're going to take tonight on the candidates. So I would do this general public comment, and then we could have an item-specific one on 5.
So Van, general public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Van Cadenhead from Islamorada. And regardless of who you pick of the 3 candidates, I would urge you that it be unanimous. I hope it is unanimous, that you all can get together and vote 5-0 for somebody. And whoever that somebody is going to have to be a strong leader. It's going to have to be an organizational person, and I really hope that we can come through the tempest that we've been through in the last year of being on a rudderless ship with very little direction and temporary interim managers who have not really done anything but maintain the status quo and not even that well. So I would hope that we can get this done tonight, and we can get this done with a strong man or woman, whoever you decide finally, if you want to not vote for any of the 3, someone who has the capabilities, the experience, and the chutzpah to do what needs to be done, because this is not going to be a painless experience. I mean, there's a whole lot of entrenched staff. There's a whole lot of entrenched business organizations and citizens. And I think that the majority of the people of Islamorada are hoping that we can find someone who will try to return us to the sport fishing capital of the world, because we have been anything but a tourist-oriented community for the last year or so, because people are running away with their hair on fire because they just don't like the vitriol. And I don't like it. I hate it. I don't like internecine squabbling, and it's taken up hundreds of hours of very expensive time in the last 2 years. And we need to establish some kind of a stable routine where we actually crank out things that the village needs that get done. Just for example, we've got the baseball field discussion, which was supposed to be planned for January, and I haven't seen anything about it. We're on January the 22nd now, and I haven't seen anything advertised about when that particular meeting is going to be. So we need to follow through on the things that we want to do that are important, and end this bickering and backstabbing and bad mouthing. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Van. Marnie, anybody else for general public comment?
No.
Okay, public comment is now closed. All right, so we're going to move on to 4, which would be discussion of village manager candidates. Council, who would like to start?
I'll just start by saying that I had a very, very, very pleasant interview process with the 3 candidates. I think they're all very well qualified. They're all very personable. They're all very close in scoring. So I didn't score them, but I mean, as far as it's a closeness which is a matter of inches rather than a matter of feet or miles. And I don't know what to say beyond that, but I just think that they were fine candidates, and they presented well, they interviewed well, and we'll see what happens from here. That's as much as I feel comfortable saying at the moment.
Okay. Henry, would you like to say something now, or?
I'll wait till later.
Okay. Elizabeth? You're fine? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just echo Mark's appreciation of everyone's showing up and presenting themselves well, and I'm looking forward to concluding this in a way that'll move the community forward, and whenever we get to that discussion.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to also follow up. I did want to say that no matter what happens here tonight, I think each of the candidates should feel proud that they did well, that they're qualified, that they're all well, any of them could be our manager, and if they don't get to make that, I don't think they should take that as a criticism or something negative. It's just I don't know how it's going to happen, what's going to finish up here. Sometimes I think I have a hunch. Tonight I don't, but whatever happens, they all did a great job, and I enjoyed meeting them, and I appreciate very much coming down and participating with us throughout the long process. Thank you.
So I have to ditto what Elizabeth said and what Mark said, that them and their wives, they were very genuine, and we had lunch with them, and they spoke, and then we had the meet and greet, and then we interviewed them pretty much all day Thursday. So anyhow, with that being said, I think they were, very kind and courteous, and so anyways, but we'll talk more when we get into the discussion. So, is there Henry? Would you like to speak before we move on?
Thank you.
Okay. So all right. So we'll move on to tab 5, discussion and direction on next steps for the village manager position vacancy. Who would like to start?
Do you want to start with public comment before you have the discussion,
We
or would
can.
you like to discuss?
We can start with public comment. Do we have public comment signed up already, Marnie, for this?
Yes, we do have a couple of people who'd like to speak on
Okay,
this.
let's open public comment then.
Okay. Sue Miller, Ken Phillipson, and I believe Van may like to speak again.
Sue Miller, Lower Matacumbe. You have a tough job tonight, and I wish you well. I think that there are 3 very qualified candidates, and I think that there should have been a better process for you to go through right now. I don't see how you're going to do this. I haven't seen any instructions on how you're going to get from where you are sitting right there now saying that you have three great people to where you're going to select one of them. But I wish you luck in doing that. And I hope that whoever is selected is here for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Who's next?
Mr. Phillipson?
I'll wait till the next tab, please.
This is the last one.
Okay, well, I'll wait.
I just want to make sure when he says he'll wait, this is the public comment chance. There's not another public comment opportunity.
Ken Phillipson, Islamorada. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the staff on putting together this particular thing. I know it's difficult. It's been a 6-month process, and it's time to end it. But when I look around and I look at all the projects that are there, I'm saying, what are we really missing? And what we're missing is the vice village manager's job, which involves operations and projects. And I'd like the staff to consider, the council to consider opening this up to where we have a village manager and a vice village manager with different responsibilities, different duties, and you'll have a little more coordination. You'll get your projects done. You're sitting with the Island Silver and Spice property that's been vacant for a couple years. Nothing's happening with that. You've got some projects for affordable housing that need direction. When we put the sewers in, the reason that we weren't late was because we had a point person, Greg Tyndall, and the village manager didn't get involved other than the supervision of Greg, which was not, and Greg was an assistant village manager. So I think you should use the process very similar and move forward with that. If you do it tonight, fine. If you don't, I think you should discuss it and come up with a program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Who's next? Marnie Van?
Yes, and I do have a speaker on Zoom as well.
You
You're
said
good?
yours? Okay.
All right,
Hands fastened.
then we have Charlotte Norris. Okay, Ms. Norris, go ahead,
Yes.
you've got 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I was very impressed with the 3 candidates and the way they presented themselves. And I'm just reminding council that I hope you have background checked your 3 candidates. There's nothing worse than selecting one and finding that the background check does not work out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council. Marty, any other public comment?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay, public comment is now closed. All right. All right. Well, who would like to start the discussion off?
I'll start it off.
Okay.
Mr. Phillipson noted this was a 6-month process. It's been a 6-month process. It certainly has been a long time. I know there's been lots of, I think, angst or just exhaustion over where we started and where we are here. And I think that I would say that the thought of bringing on someone new is exhausting because there'll be a learning curve, and that looks painful. I know there was some talk about utilizing Kimberly's services, and we've had multiple conversations, and I have had her repeat over and over and over again her inclination to stay on because I think I've enjoyed working with her. My sense is that she is not at this moment interested in applying for this position. And I would just say that where I am sitting right now, I would hope that we could narrow down these 3 people who have applied for a job tonight and bring one of them on board. I have some thoughts on that, which I'll reserve, but I hope that we can look at these candidates and make a decision to move forward.
Mark, would you or Henry?
Yes, I just have a preliminary comment to make. Firstly, I would like to continue the reference that our former mayor, Ken Phillipson, made about having an assistant manager. And in this process, I wouldn't say I had an epiphany. Well, Ken called me, and I think he helped me have an epiphany. How about that? It's his idea, and it's a good one. Early in the village, in my experience, if I remember right, from the very beginning, we had a manager and an assistant manager, and they had distinctively different roles. I know it might be off topic from exactly what we're doing right now, but it is very relevant to the job that the ultimate manager we select will have to do later on. So I did want to take advantage of the opportunity. Yes.
So whatever happened to that position, just out of curiosity?
I have the same question because I served until 2004, and sometime after I left, but before I came back years later, that position was gone. And so I would like us to revisit that. It can be tonight, it can be a later night, but I just didn't want to lose the opportunity of mentioning that. I think in my past experience, the village functioned very, very well with the assistant manager role.
Wasn't Greg Tyndall?
It was Greg Tyndall for a while, and then it was Bernie LaPira, and then when Mr. Baldwin resigned, he moved right up, which brings up the topic of successional planning. So we have somebody on board who, instead of us going and begging Maria to take the slings and arrows again, we wouldn't have to do that, that whomever is in that position at the very least could serve as an interim manager and possibly even a replacement, but it just makes a lot of sense to do that. So I just felt it was appropriate to at least reintroduce that concept. And we can talk about it later once we've made another decision about that, but at least get it out there, and if it's the will of the council, at least have it on an agenda. But technically, it would be the manager's role to select that person. We don't pick the village manager, assistant village manager. I'd rather not call him deputy because it just reminds me of Barney Fife. But so I'd say assistant, or we could say vice, however you want to say it. But so that's my thoughts about that. I told each of the candidates this in private, and I said it out loud, and I'll say it again. I think it's extremely important that whomever we select tonight or whatever we do, it's by a 5-0 vote. And if I don't get that feeling, I don't want to make it 4-1 or less. So we need to do that for unity and for support of whoever's coming in, that they have the full confidence of this council that we're going to stand behind them, support them, and work with them going forward. And I think that's important for the public to see that as well. So I want us to have a 5-0 vote if we're going to do that, and if we're not, I'm not going to do it. So, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I agree with you, Mark. I don't think it's fair to this community, to the person the job's offered to come in on a 3-2 vote. That's basically saying, well, 2 of us don't like you, and you've got to work with them. So if we can't come to a 100% 5-0, I'm on the same page as you are. I'm not interested. So,
thank you.
So when Greg Orvik was selected, he got a 5-0 vote, and when Ted was selected, he got a 5-0 vote, I believe. Right, John? Greg, you
Those
weren't.
were actually both before my time, but
brag
I
about
do
that.
believe that Ted was 5-0. That was right around just before.
Well, if I remember my recollection,
says yes.
Henry, do you remember the last 2?
It was not split.
Okay, all right.
Well, it was, Ted was 5-0, but there was some hesitation on the one before that.
Yeah. Henry, would you like to speak?
In reference to the idea of assistant manager, I'm sorry. Thank you. In reference to the assistant manager, that's to be heard at a later date. Primarily, it's the decision of the person we choose as manager this evening. So that's pretty much where it is. I don't think it deserves any discussion now. And I'm going to put that one on the list for who we choose as manager. Thank you.
All right, so I'll give you my 2 cents worth. I personally, right now at this time, I don't, and I actually told the candidates this, Rome wasn't built overnight. I don't, even though this has been a long process, I don't feel comfortable doing it this quickly, trying to push things for something that we're looking to try to have somebody with stability to be here for years, okay? So I I have to agree with Councilman Gregg and Vice Mayor Mahoney. I don't want to, if it's going to be split, I'm not interested. Either we're all in unison, we're unified, or else we have a great choice sitting right here that we can continue to work with. So that's my opinion. Anybody else want to add anything to it?
Just for the sake of formality, John, can we accept less than 5 or 4-1 or 3-2?
Yeah, it just has to, under your charter, it has to be approved by a majority of the council, so that would be 3.
3-2.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
So I would like to ask a question without asking a name. And if this is inappropriate, it's because I haven't thought it through, but I want to do this with the feelings of the candidates in mind. And that would be, are we all comfortable in picking one of the 3 or going forward tonight, either one of those? If you're not comfortable with one or with all of the 3, or at least picking one of them as our manager, or if you don't want to go forward for another reason, can we know that now so that we don't have an awkward vote coming later? And I'm telling you this because if it's not going to be 5-0, it's not going to be good.
Okay, I'll start it off. Yes, I'm comfortable with choosing one of the 3 candidates. Enough said.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm absolutely comfortable, and this is why, because I think that that's an important question, an important discussion to have. Why would we delay? Or maybe let me back up. What does it look like if we delay? We absolutely, I think we've all enjoyed Kimberly's short stay. I think we've all resonated with how she works. And let's just talk that through, because she has expressed her interest in not only serving her 60-day term, but then potentially lasting longer. But let's just, again, walk this through. So let's say we get to the 60 days, which is in March, just right around the corner, and then she decides, and sorry to talk about you like you're not sitting here, but then she decides, you know what, thank you, it's been great. I've made progress, and I think we all can imagine she would make progress. Then in March, she says, no, thank you, I'm going to go back to the county, and then where are we? Then we start this process all over again. And I have to say that this is, it seems a little irresponsible for this group to put the community into that position, and I really don't want to do that. We've got 3 people. I could narrow those down to 2 and talk about qualifications. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a Prince Charming walk through the door that we all, want to, move in with. So, and unfortunately, we're all sitting in a situation where, again, this is exhausting. I do not look forward to bringing someone in. I think there's some who is brand new and having to start all over, but we have created that situation for lots of different reasons, and I can own that. Now I think we need to move forward, and whoever comes in, one of these people, they're applying with the conviction that they will stay, and I think that we can all rise to the occasion to support that person. I think a couple of them have. I think we can come to a consensus, but I think we need to move on.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Vice Mayor? Anything?
I think I'll wait. You want to say anything?
Kimberly, you want to?
I would only add that, as I have repeatedly said to all of you, I have had a lovely experience here, and I would welcome if the county offers me the opportunity and you all are not quite ready for me to go, whether that be that you select someone this evening and you need a couple of extra weeks, or you need a little bit more time and you'd like me to work on your strategic plan, whatever that might be, I have found you all to be absolutely lovely. As of today, as Elizabeth mentioned, the councilwoman, Jolene, mentioned, she has repeatedly asked me if today, yesterday, last week, would I be interested in resigning from the county and taking on this position? And my response has been, and continues to be, that I think tonight is about the 3 candidates you have in front of you. It's not about me. It's about the process that you've been going through and how you feel about these 3 gentlemen. I think you need to make the decision based on that. And whether I was sitting in this chair or not, I think you'd have those same exact feelings. And so I would encourage you all to make that decision based on what your experience was with them. And if you feel comfortable with the idea of a deputy, if you feel comfortable with making a motion to hire one of them as a village manager, I encourage you to do that. And tonight is not about me or anyone else sitting in this chair. It's about these 3 gentlemen.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to test the resolve of the council in a way I hope was respectful of the feelings of the candidates. And I would like to make a motion that we not select a manager tonight. And I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Well, we'll counter your motion. Well, first of all, you need.
I just want to see if there's a second for that.
A second.
Can we have a reason why?
I don't know if there's 5 of us that want to do that. And secondly, I don't know if there's 5 of us who are going to pick the same person. And if you have a sense that it's going to be not unanimous, that is my reason. That's what I'm trying to flush out of us right now. But I don't want to get into a comparison of the candidates. I just think that that's very awkward and undignified to do that to someone who has invested so much of themselves with us, who's put themselves out in the public, just really opened themselves up. Either we're going to pick them or we're not. And if we're not, and we know that now, let's get that out on the table. If everybody's willing to vote for somebody tonight and we think it's all going to be the same, then let's do that too. But I'm not getting a vibe that that's going to happen. So that's why I made the motion.
Got it.
All right, so we got a motion on the floor. We don't have a second. So
if there's no second, the motion fails.
motion fails. All right.
I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, Henry.
I've been through this process before. One of the processes was that we wrote down your individual choice, and just maybe it would happen that we all chose the same person. And the only way we did that previously was we wrote it down, passed it to the lady over there, and she said, so-and-so has this number of votes, and we can move on. So
Unless you want to make a motion. Mark just made a motion.
I'll make the motion that we write down on a piece of paper what your individual choice is.
Yes, Mr. Quick.
I don't like that.
Huh?
I don't like that.
Okay, so you don't like it, but that's my suggestion.
The only thing that you would have to do to comply with public records purposes, you have to make sure that your names are written on it, and then we could announce it. They can't be anonymous votes, and I don't think that's what Councilmember Rosenthal is suggesting. I just want to make sure that it's clear for everyone on the dais as well as the public listening.
What's wrong with if he wants to make a motion to not bring a motion up to pick one of them, and somebody seconds it? What's...
You can do it that way. I think the motion that he made is to establish a procedure to do it another way, but you could do it either of those ways. But you do have a motion on the table.
So
we don't have a second yet.
I'm just exploring an idea. So if we were all to write a name down as our selection on a piece of paper and hand it to you, would you then be able to tell us there are 5 that they're the same or not the same? Would that be a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I could do it. I mean, obviously the clerk would need to keep copies for public records purposes, but I would announce there are this many for person X, this many for Y, and this many for
I don't
Z,
want to do
or
that.
however.
There's only 3 candidates. Either we make a motion, somebody makes a motion, there's a second, and then we vote on it to see where that motion goes.
Could I?
I mean, sure, go ahead, Elizabeth.
You know, I really respect your, Mark, your effort to make this a gentle conversation, and same with Henry. What I think we might, or what I would love to suggest is that we have an actual conversation about the qualities we're looking for, and I have a feeling that, I mean, whether these candidates are watching or not, I mean, they're grown men, and you know, when you apply for a job, you're not all going to win, and I think that we have enough civility to have a civilized conversation. We're not pulling people apart and calling names. I think this warrants a conversation. I'd be happy to kick it off, and I think we can come to a conclusion. I think we all, my sense is that we can come to a consensus and choose one of these people if we have a conversation.
Each one of us up here has sat with them for close to an hour, okay, and interviewed them. So, and we should be able to make a decision right now as to, I mean, if you guys want to have more conversation, let's have more conversation. But I don't have anything else to say personally, because I interviewed them, and I know what I interviewed them. I know what my questions were, and I know what their responses were.
I was just thinking that it would be that because this is, you know, there are 5 of us, I'd love to know what you think, and I'm sure you'd love to know what I think, as I've kind of analyzed these couple of gentlemen, and I don't know how we can move forward without a conversation. That would be my sense. And again, you know, there's only going to be one person we choose, so no hard feelings. I think that's how it works.
Go ahead, Henry.
If it comes down to 4 to 1, just for example, in all probability, that one person, if it's up to me and I'm the one, I'll certainly go along with the rest of you. And I think everybody would take that same position, really. And if it's 3 to 2, maybe we have a little discussion. But you don't know. Maybe it's 5-0, maybe it's 4 to 1. But if I'm the one, I'll go along with the rest of you. Believe me, I will. I think the rest of you would follow suit that way. So, in fact, it's been done that way. And
So should we each just simply mention, do you want to have a conversation of comparison, or we could each just mention a name that, you know, who would be my first choice rather than go down the ranking?
Yeah.
Before we do that, did the motion fail for lack of a second?
I think so.
I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a motion still on the table.
I will withdraw the motion to make it clear.
Yeah, that was actually Henry's.
Henry's motion.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my motion.
There was no second.
Sorry.
well, there's some opposition. Where the opposition is, I'm not too sure. But the person in opposition, listen to my suggestion, please give it a better idea, that's all.
Yeah, I agree with you, Henry. I think we can have a conversation, and I don't see a problem with it. We're all grown adults, so.
I mean, I think we all know where we're going. I would hope to by now.
Sharon?
Honestly, I know you guys from sitting here for a year, this is not going to be a 5-0 vote. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I know, so that's why and I'm not comfortable with a 3-2 at all.
So I think that was Henry's point.
With the 4 to 1.
Not really. I think it should be a 5-0. I mean, then you've got somebody who feels like he doesn't have the support of the council, and that bothers me. Hey, it's just my opinion, you know? I mean, but I guarantee you that, well, why don't you tell me who you guys are thinking of? You want to do that?
If you want to make a motion,
Want to play that game?
motion on who you want to pick.
Go ahead.
Well, I will.
Okay.
Let's just get
Maybe
the
I'll
ball
be
rolling
wrong.
here. We should be able to make that motion. My choice, and it's a product of 3 people, myself, John Kokel, and she just spoke. John Kokel, you probably all know, as far as his interest in this community, and I value his discussion. And the lady, Charlotte Norris. The thing that really promoted Charlotte Norris as one of the three is because she was the HR director for American Express. And I felt she was really qualified to view her points, good and bad. And we all came up with one name, and I'll tell you the name, Doug McInerney, of which he got a vote from everybody when the time came. Everybody considered him. So I'll make a motion to choose Doug McInerney, and if it comes 4-1, maybe one person will concede and say, let's go. So that's the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I would just ask, Henry, if you would hold off, rescind your motion so that we could have discussion first and then make your motion?
Well, I thought the discussion was kind of winding down, and he asked me to make a motion, so that's the reason I did. I was not in favor of pushing it, but when I was asked, I'm big enough to open my mouth and tell you where I am. That's
Okay.
all.
Well, I would still request that you rescind it until we all just throw in our 2 cents. I think Sharon was asking for us to have a conversation, weren't you?
Whatever you guys want to do.
We already did.
I thought we did too.
I thought we did, but that's up to you.
I'll just say I had another person in mind.
Okay, so do I hear a second, or otherwise the motion's going to die?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay,
just
thanks.
just so we can
Thanks.
move on.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, can you,
Mark,
go ahead,
do you-
Kimberly. Hold on. Go ahead, Kimberly.
So just to be clear, and I know John had his finger and his mic unmuted, but I want to be clear. So we have had 2 agenda items on this agenda. The first was a discussion of each candidate. You all had the opportunity to speak about each candidate. Some spoke, some passed. At this point now, the agenda item is direction and discussion and direction on the village manager position. We have a motion on the floor. At this point, if we want to open discussion about the candidates and move this conversation forward, I think the next thing would be to get a second. Of course, obviously, if none of you choose to second it and you wish it to die, then that is obviously your choice. But to move the discussion forward, we would need a second on any motion.
just rescinded it.
Well, I thought
I know.
I said I withdraw the motion.
Yeah, so Henry's withdrew it.
Got it. So we would, at this point, to continue, we would look for a second motion of some kind. An additional motion to continue the discussion.
And just as a reminder, obviously, if any selection is made tonight, this is a selection to proceed with negotiations for the selected candidate, because obviously we would need to, a contract would need to be brought back to the council for the council's ultimate approval.
Okay.
So in line with Henry's comment earlier, I think you indicated that you'd be willing to go along with a majority, as would I. So,
Yes,
I mean,
I
we
would.
kind of have to,
I
so
would.
it sounds like, I mean,
I mean, we just had a motion, and I don't know what more that, I don't have anything else. Vice Mayor said she didn't have anything else. Mark, do you have anything else you want to discuss?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I was trying to be very sensitive to the candidates and just try to indirectly poll the council to see how unified we were. That's really what I was looking for. And I don't mean that if we don't all pick the same person, we're having discord and disarray and so forth. It just means we have different preferences. And it's okay. I mean, as I said at the outset, my opinion was that the differences between the candidates were in inches and not in feet or miles. They're all very close. In respect to Henry's comment about could I see myself, am I going to hold fast to my first choice? If the other four have someone else, I think I could go along and do, and change my vote. I wouldn't mind doing that. But I just didn't want to have to go through this, that's all.
Okay.
I hated doing it before.
If there's any way around it.
I don't think so, probably not.
Okay, so ultimately, I was asking for is to see if we could move this is for a motion and a second. And we haven't got a second yet. So we had a motion and we haven't had a second.
Well, I would just start the conversation then. That may or may not help. And as I was looking at the three candidates, and again, inches apart, not inches apart, I'm looking for someone who has some managerial experience as a head, as a leader. I certainly enjoyed Mr. Couch and his. In the time I spent with him, he's never acted as a village manager, and I don't want to be training him in our community. Though I know he has skills that are going to be very well used in another community, which then narrows us down to Mr. Cole and Mr. Maxiner, both lovely people. I think both could do a fine job here. I was drawn to Mr. Maxiner primarily because he was because of his lack of, I wish I could have thought in advance a better way to say this, but he did not have a big personality. He was neutral. He was not a cheerleader. He was no nonsense. He led a number of towns as a manager, had success. I don't think he was ever fired. Not that that means anything. But his lack of personality, with all due respect, was, I think, what we need in this town. I did not want to go out and have a beer with them, and that's good. That's what I want in a manager. I want someone who will put his head down and do the work. Mr. Cole was lovely. He had a long tenure in his service in his various communities, but he never acted as the manager until the very end, and then something happens, who knows. So while I was impressed with his long stints in government, it was as an assistant. So, I have just a tiny bit of reservation to say, yes, come and be learn how to be a manager in our community. I would prefer to utilize the skills from someone else. To be honest, I'm sure Mr. Cole would do a fine job, but I would offer, there's my opinion, and I say it with all due respect to all of the people who the three men. I'm inclined to lean toward Mr. Maxiner simply because he was pretty no-nonsense. And I would ask you to consider it. And I appreciate the opportunity to converse and have an open mind about how you all might feel.
Does anybody have anything else they want to say, or do
Yeah,
I ask for a motion?
I'll say something quickly. Oh, maybe not quickly. Well, I think you were brave to come out first and give that, and I respect you for that. I kind of looked at things two different ways, forward and backwards. Looking backwards, each of the candidates had terrific educational qualifications and excellent work experience, leadership, all of the things that they've done up to this point. All of them could do a great job. There's no doubt about that. They all interviewed very well, personable, different kinds of personalities. That's just a matter of, I think, personalities on our part, who we get along with. The one thing that impressed me, and the reason that I made a mention that I liked Mr. Cole, is that he showed he wanted the job. And the way that he did that is he came down here and he leased a property or rented a property. He's all in. He was here in advance. He was getting to know the community. He met with several community members. That's a hungry guy. He wants the job. And you can't buy that. That drive and that desire. So having worked myself when I was young, I was the first one at the office and the last one to go home because I wanted the boss to know I was moving up, and that's what I wanted. And that's just something that resonated with me. It may or not with you, but that's I think the one I said inches, that put him an inch ahead of the rest for me. That was it.
Okay. So, Do I hear a motion? No, I don't have anything else to say. I told you, you know.
I told you it wasn't going to be split. But
To be clear,
they,
I can go with that.
again, were very nice. All of them were equal in a lot of their skills and what they've done. They all interviewed very, very well. I'm not going to go along with a split vote. I just can't, because that doesn't show unity. It doesn't show them anything. I mean, I'm sorry, but I guess I'm going to be the stumbling block here, because I think we need to be unified behind that person. And right now, I'm thinking it's like 2-2 or something like that, and that doesn't sit very well. So that's my opinion.
Who would you prefer?
I'm not going to say it. Right now, I'm on the fence. I don't really prefer one over the other. I'm on the fence here because I knew this was going to happen with us. It just does. I know.
Sure.
But I think that this.
That's why I'm saying, guys, we're not going to get anywhere until somebody makes a motion and we have a second. That's where it's going to come down to where the rubber meets the road.
Well,
We can sit here and discuss it all night, but if I'm reading what Henry's saying, what you're saying, what Mark's saying, what Sharon's saying, it ain't, you know.
How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel very similar to you, and my feelings are we have somebody right now, and I think we need to give her a chance, and that's my personal opinion. I'm not ready. I mean, I interviewed all three of them. There is one that interviewed better than the other. They were all very professional, but I'm going to stick with my guns on what I felt. So, and I'm not, we either have a motion. I'm not going to sit here and get into it. I see what's going on, and listen, I don't want to, either we're unified on something here or we're not. And so is there a motion? Somebody, if I've heard.
Well, I would just say for myself that I mentioned my preference, but my sense is that there is a move toward Mr. Cole. I would be happy to work with him. I am personally very concerned about continuing in the interim situation. I would support Mr. Cole. We had a lovely conversation. He seems very qualified. I would support him. My preference is Mr. Maxiner, but I am happy if there's a motion on the table to go with Mr. Cole to go that direction. This is a little difficult because we don't know where you guys are sitting, and I think we're all trying to, at least I am, trying to get on board with to make a unified decision, but I don't know where that is right now because I don't know what you guys are, who you prefer. And my sense was that Henry was in the same camp. Don't let me speak for you.
So this,
Henry, would you like to make a motion again?
Again, I will. But before I make it, you've got to take a good look at yourselves and why we're sitting here. We got a lot of people that elected us to make a decision, and they're not always easy. This is not easy. And for you or for anybody to say, well, I haven't made my mind yet, this has been going on for months. Months and months and months. I will make the motion, as I did before. If it fails, it fails. Then let somebody else make a motion. If it fails, it fails. But eventually, as far as I'm concerned, when I leave this chair, we will have chosen somebody. It may not be unanimous, but I expect if you do the right thing, you don't stand up and say, oh, I wanted so-and-so, and I'm not going to go unless you get me so-and-so. Is that what somebody's saying here? There's enough dissension in this body to prolong it. This is not a simple thing to do. It's very important. But at some point in time, you're condoning yourself to the dissatisfaction that we're faced with in this community. At some point in time, you have to say, enough's enough. I may not agree with it, but I'll agree with it long enough to get the job done. Believe me, all three of the applicants can do the job. I happen to have my feelings through my introduction with this gentleman and his wife, by the way, to promote him, as all three of us were in unison for this one person. So once again, I'll make the motion for Mr. Maximier to be our next manager.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Done.
Marnie, we got a motion, we got a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henry Rosenthal,
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Gregg,
No?
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney,
No.
and Mayor Buddy Pinder.
No.
That motion fails, 3-2.
I'll make a motion for, to approve Mr. Cole as a manager and enter into negotiations.
I'll second that.
And this is, now we can open for conversation? Any conversation?
We can?
Okay.
I have something to say. What is crystal clear to me now is that there are 3 votes for uncertainty, three votes to not move forward.
Who is that?
Well, it would be the mayor, the vice mayor, and myself. I am confident that if we vote on Mr. Cole, it's going to be a 3-2 vote. And I don't want to see that happen.
Are you? Are you sure it's going to be that way?
Well,
Let's vote.
Wait a second.
You're the mind meter. It's supposed to be me.
I learned from the best. I don't foresee Mr. Cole getting 4 votes.
I don't know. Let's do it.
Okay.
Maybe.
You want to call the?
Well, no, I'm not going to do 3 votes because then it's over. I said I wanted 5-0. I might bend a little on 4-1, but
We got a motion and we got a second. Should we have Marnie call the roll?
well, let me ask: if we vote on this and it votes down, can we bring it back up again later? Same candidate?
Yeah, you would do, it would be a motion to reconsider.
Okay.
And it would be from anybody from the prevailing side, which is if it's voted down, it would be one of the 3 people voting no.
Okay, so Marnie, we have a,
And just as a reminder, if it's 3-2 the other way, that would be a prevailing vote. So I just wanted, because there was the question before, did it need to be a unanimous vote? Your charter just says that it needs to be at least the majority of the full council, which is 3 votes.
so there was a motion and a second on Mr. Cole. Marnie, can you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Henry Rosenthal,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Gregg,
No.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney,
No.
and Mayor Buddy Pinder.
No.
That motion fails, 3-2.
I can't tell you how horrible it feels to not vote in favor of my preference, but I made myself clear at the outset that it's about the candidates, but it's about the council being unified, and I meant what I said. So,
I hope I didn't put you in.
no. I guess I'm apologizing to Mr. Cole, if he's watching. I'm sorry I couldn't do that, because I think the principle of being unified is as important, if not more important, than who we pick. So I have to go with that principle.
So what kind of solutions are we looking for, Mayor Pinder and Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney? Please, whatever you're trying to say it.
I had a conversation earlier today with Kimberly, and also a very influential part of my life is I had a long talk with, and also a new friend here in the Keys who's helped me with other things gave me a great suggestion today, and I think it might be worth looking into. I liked all 3 of the candidates, but I knew there was going to be this division here, and I liked them all, but I don't think you know everything in 2 days. I don't think that a year's contract to go through this over and over again. I talked to Kimberly, who was agreeable to my suggestion that was made to me, was that we bring down 2 candidates at a time to work with Kimberly for a couple months. A company called Robert Half, I believe. They are our headhunters in the Miami area, all over the country actually, and internationally. We don't sign a contract with them. It gives a chance for Kimberly to do other things for us, strategic plans, maybe the library, whatever. And these people know that down the road they could step into Kimberly's shoes. They interact with the staff, they do their projects, they do their jobs that Kimberly gives them. We meet them, we get to know them. One works Monday and Tuesday, the other one works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then we swing it the next week. I cannot make a decision like this to watch another Greg Orvik or Ted Yates again, and that's what we're setting ourselves up for. I think this might be a suggestion that might work, and it'll give us time to have an assistant manager, as Mr. Phillips said, and also open the door to get to know somebody a little bit better than 2 days. Because in these 2 days, these candidates were pulled back and forth through different people in this community, and I don't think we get an accurate reading of them. I'm sorry. And I know, Henry, you're not happy with this, but I don't know how everybody else feels. Kimberly? And she said she would stay.
I must add the caveat that I do not serve at my own pleasure. That what we talked about was that I thought that that was an excellent idea to work with somebody. If you do not have a sentiment amongst you, I do agree with Councilman Gregg that I think it's important for you to have a sense of the person and to have a consensus among yourselves that you all feel strongly that that person's going to be successful. And I do think that bringing somebody down on a trial or hiring a deputy and bringing that person in as deputy, I think all of those are very valid ideas. However, again, I do not serve at my own pleasure, and so therefore I can't make that commitment on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners that you will continue to have me. But if they agree to that, I know that John, the next meeting in March is the day after the current 60-day contract with the Board of County Commissioners expires. If they would agree to allow me to stay longer, my comment is that I would agree to that if they would like me to do that. But I would defer to my bosses, which is the Board of County Commissioners, and to Roman Gustesi. So if that's amenable to them, it's amenable to me. I think that that is a logical choice versus being simply in an indecisive position. So
Okay.
I didn't understand what your suggestion was. Could you could you give me more information, please? Or maybe you have more information? Could someone provide more information?
I don't know. This just came up this afternoon, or this morning, actually. And I liked all 3 of the candidates. They're all really good, but I wasn't in love with any one like some of you guys were. I was on the fence about them for different reasons, and a lot of them were my own personal reasons. I don't think in 2 days you really get to know somebody. So this company is all over the country. They're international. We would sit down with them, someone would, and tell them exactly what we want and what we look for, and they would give us, just like a headhunter, but they're different where they're not paid. And I know, Henry, you don't like this, but I don't like going through this all over and over and over again, and that's what you're setting us up for by us not agreeing.
So what are you saying? You're saying that they would give us an employee that
2.
could be, or 2?
It's an hourly employee. We wouldn't be signing a contract with them unless we wanted to keep them. And that way they interact with the staff. Kimberly can watch how they work and how they get projects done. Why Kimberly can work on the strategic plan and maybe the library situation, and let them sort of take the first step and see if it's somebody that we want to keep, because I just think you're setting yourself up for a revolving door over and over and over again by meeting somebody who's not even from the state of Florida, rolling the dice that they're going to want to live here, And, I can't make Kimberly stay, but she was positive about it today when I talked to her about it. And it would give her an assistant and let them start working with us, with the staff. So you see if you really do like them, instead of 2 days when everybody's on their best behavior. That's just my thought.
What was the part about someone comes Tuesdays?
Well, they suggested we take 2, so that way it's a faster process. And if we don't like the one, then we tell them, thank you very much. They get an hourly wage and they go back. And I know we're starting over again, but at least there's some longevity to this and not a 2-day decision. And that, again, if you guys want to vote somebody in, that's up to you guys. But I mean, I think someone would rise to the top. They know they have maybe a permanent job coming. And we can see how they interact and how they get things done. I mean, I don't know. We could look more into it. This was just brought up to me today. And I thought it sounded pretty good because I liked them all, but I couldn't pick one over the other. And then you're wondering what you get after 2 days, So
It's a new option. I'm willing to consider it, but I'm not able to make a judgment on that tonight. It seems clear to me that there's a consensus that we're uneasy about going forward, and rather than making a bad decision that forces two of us to work with somebody that was not their first choice, I think no decision, and I know Elizabeth is not a fan of kicking the can down the road, but that's exactly what I'm going to suggest.
we could start February 1st.
We could do whatever you want, but tonight I don't see it happening. And I don't think we should force it. I don't believe that's going to be a long-term good thing. So is it appropriate to table this, to make a motion to table it, or to just vote it down?
Honestly, the retention of a deputy village manager would fall within the purview of your village manager.
Right.
Or assistant manager. We don't
assistant,
necessarily
whatever you want to call it,
whatever
but
the name.
the
may be.
number 2, the village
Right,
manager's
okay.
number 2,
Okay.
would fall within the purview of your village manager. So I don't think that that's necessarily a determination. I mean, if that's something that you are interested in asking her to explore, I mean, she's sitting here and she can listen, and I don't want to speak for Kimberly, obviously. But ultimately, I think the retention of an assistant village manager would fall within her purview.
Is that according to our charter? Okay.
Yes, yes. I mean, the employees of the council are village attorney, village manager. Anything outside of outside of legal falls within the village manager's purview when it comes to hiring, firing, things like that. The only item that would need to be discussed at the council level is obviously is more of a budgetary item. Is making sure that there is the full-time equivalent employee. I think I used the right term there. Making sure that is in your budget item, whether it's creating a new allocation for budget purposes or taking or reallocating one that you have to the assistant village manager slot. There probably needs some updating to the job description, which obviously we could work on with Kimberly and Evie if Kimberly decides to go that route. But I just want to make sure that decision doesn't need to be made today, because frankly, that's really Kimberly's decision.
How do you feel?
I personally kind of like the idea. So basically what you're saying, I don't understand it yet, but I think staff or Kimberly could research some of it, but basically what you'd be doing is it's kind of like what I guess Cordino does for us. They send somebody here and we've end up, and I think the county's done this too, Kimberly, where they've hired a company from Miami or something and used those people in planning or code or wherever, and they have end up hiring that person full time to be an inspector or in planning or whatever. I understand what you're saying. I just think we need to how much the money's involved, and is that person working for the company or working for us, for the village? I mean, I don't know enough about. I don't.
I haven't looked into it yet. It just was brought up to me today, and she liked it, and I thought I'd see how you guys felt about it, because I know you don't like it, Henry, but I'm very uncomfortable with this split, and I knew it was going to be
You
split.
shouldn't be.
Well, I am, and that's just the way I am, and I don't think you bring somebody on because you're forced to, or you have to go along with everybody. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me.
So maybe you'll be the 4-1.
I don't have a clue, but right now,
Maybe
it's
you will.
3-2, and I'm not good with it, and that's just me.
Can I offer a thought? Perhaps we table this, push it back, kick the can down the road, I say apologetically to Elizabeth, until the next meeting, and we ask the staff and manager to come back with more detailed information about perhaps a job description and some interesting things for an assistant manager, and then more detail about the program that you're
They're coming
discussing.
tomorrow morning to talk to Kimberly.
So, I mean, I just want to,
I understand.
when we picked the manager twice before, we had the candidates to consider. And now we have the candidates plus perhaps an interim manager, plus maybe not, plus now this other idea. So this kind of morphing into a different kind of a decision. And I don't like making heavy decisions quickly until I have all the information in front of me. So I would be interested in tabling this if that's the right answer. And that means that we still have the option to come back to the three candidates if we want to later. Rather than voting them all down, I'd rather leave the door open. Probably not their preference, but or we can vote them all down, whatever you want to do. But we should move forward with something.
Kimberly, can you or John give us a little advice on this, what Councilman Gregg's talking about?
So I'll let John collect his thoughts. So what I'm hearing from all of you is that I'm not hearing a consensus. You've made two motions to select a village manager. Both have failed. There's not a motion currently, but at least several of you are discussing in a favorable manner. And so I would ask for direction. If there's no other motion, if you don't want to make a motion about the third candidate, that's your choice. If you don't want to make a motion about something official to create a position, then what I would ask is guidance from the dais that you send staff and me back to get you more information, whether it's potentially creating a deputy position, utilizing a current vacant FTE that we may have within the village, whether it's using, filling that with maybe one of the candidates that we have within the three, whether it's utilizing the folks that you've talked about, I'm not sure, the service that you've referred to, and then we can bring that back at the February meeting, and we can present that as a staff item. And of course, individually, I will speak with all of you about your guidance, how you're feeling, what I'm researching, and see where you're at. And based on that information, do my best to craft something that I think is palatable to all of you and bring it forward at the February meeting. And you will move on it, not move on it, and at least we'll have additional guidance and information. Unless you choose, that's what I'm hearing. If you choose to go a different route, that is up to you.
I'll get you the service, and you can look into that if you would. Speak up to your. Oh, I'm sorry. I said I'll get her the information tomorrow and see if it's something that might work, might give us better options, or at least have somebody here more than 2 days so you can really see and know they're doing the job that we want them to do. I think it's sort of a good situation myself, so.
Elizabeth, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, she does.
You know, I do kind of have a problem with this suggestion at this point. I am not familiar with the experience. I think it's, anyway, so many things to say. And I think this, had we brought this to the dais 6 months ago, yeah. And I appreciate the creativity, but I'm also looking at the way the what our town needs right now. And I would just urge us to take a close look at the couple of qualified people that we have seen here and make a decision tonight. And I know that's hard and it's painful and
We've already done two.
I'm just making a statement. You don't have to even respond to it. What I see here is that we're asking Kimberly to bring something back mid-February. And that doesn't, then we look for someone, so they'll be placed mid-March, maybe. And then Kimberly's gone March 1st, which is fine. We don't need to act. There's nothing in our code that says we need to act with a manager. She can go back to the county if that's required. I mean, I know she's a busy woman at the county. I mean, I'm uncomfortable with how unstable that sounds, and also, frankly, it makes us look a little unstable, and I'm a little concerned about that too.
Well, I will say that I'm like the vice mayor. It's about meeting someone in 2 days and then making a decision. That's going to last for years on somebody. And we don't know that in March that she might say, yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it. Maybe her and her superiors are going to bless her. I mean, we don't know that. And I don't think it's right. For her to try to make the decision when right now, what you were talking about earlier, Elizabeth, I think her and her husband need some time. They have a house in Big Pine. And she's expressed to me that the living is the main reason right now because they bought a brand new house, 2 lots on the water, but she's still amenable to think about coming here, okay? But it's going to take, we got to have a place for her to live. We got to have, and she even said they'd live in an efficiency because they have their home down there. But I think she needs some time to see if she likes us and we like her. So far, I mean, she's only been here 2 weeks and 1 day today.
Can I chime in on one thing just to clarify? I gave a little more thought to the deputy idea, and I want to...
Or assistant manager, John.
I keep saying I got deputy in my head, and now I can't get it out. The assistant manager. And I think it was a little too quick to say that the village council could not chime in on that. I think you all could. The way you could do it is if you make this as part of your manager search, and I think you could chime in that way. And what it would be a motion to continue with Kimberly serving in the interim village manager position and moving forward. Direction to staff to bring in an assistant manager, whether it's staffed by 1 or 2 people, to fill that role with the eye that one of those people could potentially ultimately serve as the manager or be retained by the manager by the council. If that makes sense, I hope it did.
And I would like to add one thing. I would like to go back to the verbiage that you and I spoke about in our little whispers just a minute ago. Instead of using my name, because again, I do serve at the pleasure of the Board of County Commissioners and Roman Gastesi, I would prefer it say to, what did you say, status quo?
Yeah, or continue with the employee interchange agreement.
Continue with the interchange agreement, because again, I serve at the pleasure, and I know you would want the same respect from anybody who worked for you. And then, as John said, everything else. I would feel most comfortable if that direction came as a motion from the board now, or the council, now that you're not making a motion on one of the candidates to move forward. I would, again, I referred to it as direction previously, but in talking to John, I think that probably a motion is the most solid way to go, because then it can be no doubt that at least it's a consensus vote. And
All right.
thank you, Mayor Pender. And since I know my husband's watching, I just have to give him kudos for sleeping in that, my 6'4" husband sleeping in that full bed efficiency bed. He's a good man. So thank you.
Okay. So council, okay, Henry, go ahead.
I believe this discussion is completely out of order. We're here to choose one of 3 people to be our manager. And then he may be charged with the decision to choose an assistant manager if that's the case. It's his decision. It's not our decision. Our decision is who voted for us to sit in these chairs. And we should be able to make a decision out of 3, not 7, 3, who we have been accustomed to for months and months and months. And if you cannot make a decision, then I don't want to offend anybody, but I have to tell you, you don't belong here if you can't make that decision.
Henry, that's not fair and that's not true.
Well, I'm
That
going
is-
to say
well,
that.
I know
Why
you
wouldn't I
are,
say
and I have
that?
the utmost respect for you, but that's not fair.
Oh, you don't
because-
think it's fair? Why can't you make a decision?
Because maybe I'm not in love with any of those 3 like you are, okay? And that's my right. That is my right.
I was going to say.
You represent people, and I represent different people than you, but I respect how you feel. And if I'm not in love with one of these guys where I think they're going to be here 2, 3, 5, 10 years, then it's a big red flag for me. And that's my opinion. Well, I just met them. I haven't spent time on the phone with them, Henry. Haven't met them. See, when they're here in town, I spend 2 days with them. And 2 days when they're on their best behavior. You don't know about any of these people. You might. I didn't. So it's sort of unfair for you to say I'm not fit to sit here. I'm sorry. That's offensive to me.
Okay, I'll
Henry, can you
apologize to
speak into
you.
your mic, please?
I'll apologize to you for what I said, but it just came, that's my feeling.
I know
Let
it
me
is.
ask you a question. If it came to 4-1 and you were the one, would you go along with the rest of us?
If it's not in my heart, no. I
wouldn't, okay.
No, because you stand by what you believe in. That's why we're all here, because we're individuals and we think differently. They're not like each other.
We were all individuals when the people voted on us.
Okay? And we're here for a reason. And it's not insulting at all.
To say that I agree with Sharon as far as if we're not, so what? What if we interviewed 10, but if we didn't find one of those 10 that really struck a note, is there anything wrong that we go back for another 10 or something?
Are you that schooled in this position to come up with the
Henry,
right
all I know, the people, excuse me, Deb, excuse me. The people elected us to do our job, what we think, what is best in our heart, okay, for the village and for the residents and businesses of this village, okay?
I sit by myself. I've done this over and over and over
yeah.
in my life.
Well,
How many
I don't know how many, you know what, Henry, I called when Mr. Orvik, I drove to Port St. Lucie and went to a council meeting. I was the only council person that went to Port St. Lucie and went to a council meeting, my own time and everything, go up there. Then I had him come down here for 4 hours. I'm trying to get to know the guy to see whether I even want to hire him or not, okay? Now, so guess what? Mr. Orvik was here 6 months, and, Henry, I purposely, when Ted got hired, I didn't talk to any of them, and I didn't talk to any of them this time. Okay, they were here. I don't know. Maybe there's others here that are communicating with them. Obviously, they were, because I asked some of them that question.
All I'll say is, if I'm out of line, I apologize to everybody, because that's just the way I do things, and have done it for over and over for years and years, and that's just me.
Henry, I understand. I understand. The variety's the spice of life, man. I mean, it's...
I just think that this discussion underscores the point that we need to have a strong consensus amongst us who we want to serve as the manager, because the two that don't get their choice, the manager will be a wedge between us. And we've seen what that does. And I'm never going there again.
And I agree with what Kimberly just said about having a motion. We should make a motion on what we're going to do here, even though we might, each of us up here disagree, right? But Henry, I'm not offended at you. You can say whatever you want because you and I see through a different
I
islands.
don't want to offend anybody. I probably already have.
No, you haven't, Henry. I got thick skin. I'm on the heart.
Listen, I know your heart, man, so it's.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
We're okay?
Yeah, of course we're okay. Henry?
Having dinner?
Yes, Henry. And you can still decorate my yard at Christmas and all kinds of stuff. But no, listen, nothing offends me, and that's one of the reasons we are up here, because we got thick skin. But I do not want us to stay on this hamster wheel we've been on. And maybe it's the process that we use that isn't working, and not so much the people. I don't think 2 days is enough time to really know if someone's going to fit. I just don't. That's just my opinion.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask just if there is going to be a motion on the, sorry, I almost said the wrong term, assistant village manager. Can I also ask that as part of that motion, that it also directs or authorizes staff to reallocate one of the FTEs for that position? Because right now in your budget, you don't have an allocation for an assistant village manager. So it would just need to.
Well, what about the planning department that we're short somebody there? Can that money be moved there?
That could be, yeah.
So, sorry, I have,
Thank you.
That
Thank
money
you.
was already budgeted.
Yes, it was.
Okay, there you go.
so the request is for an assistant.
No,
that what
no,
I'm-
I think the request is for,
Since John just said the request is for an assistant, is he wrong?
Well, it's a request as part of the alternative village manager selection process to bring in an assistant, reallocate the FTE to the assistant position with the eye for the council to be looking at any one of the people that might be filling that role to potentially serve as the permanent village manager.
So the people who would apply for that position would be of assistant caliber, presumably, because that's someone who, for example, I doubt if, any of the candidates who applied that we just saw would apply for an assistant, just like I know
we
when
don't
we.
know that, Elizabeth. One of them, or two of them, or three of them might say, "Yeah, I'll apply for that."
because they know they're going to move up in time, because she isn't going to stay.
Okay, so I like Mark's idea. Whatever you were trying to you were saying a little while ago about, whatever you were mentioning.
I'm going to need a little recoaching from John. I would move that we give direction to the staff to move forward with pursuing the idea of creating the position and the job description and selection of I almost said deputy again, of an assistant village manager, and to make allocation for a compensation through reallocation of the full-time equivalent staff position we already have, move that within the budget wherever it needs to go, and to, I'm not sure of the right adjective or verb to use, to continue with the current interim manager for an additional, 60-day period.
Can I add on to that for Kimberly to check into this?
And to, yes, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to leave out
Sure.
the program. I'm sorry. It's a lot to keep in your head here.
She's going to meet with somebody tomorrow morning, and we've got
Yes.
it covered.
The motion would be to continue with the status quo under the employee interest.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what I was saying.
Do all of us understand this?
No.
No?
Can you repeat it? Actually, this is your motion. Can I just ask, as you repeat your motion, which just nothing personal, but I'm going to vote no on it, but could you amend put a timeline on this? I mean, put some sort of.
To come back at the next meeting with this, the next regular village council meeting, mid-February. What would that be, the 13th?
Yeah, the 13th and the 15th are our council meetings.
Very
I would
convenient.
just say there are, with a hiring goal, because we have a lot of we have a lot of outstanding hires that are just out there with no movement on it.
Well, the hiring goal is ours. I left that out because the staff wants us to tell them what they can do for us. So, number one, pursuit of, or creation and development of the assistant manager position. Number 2, amendment to the budget or working with the budget to provide for compensation from the existing full-time equivalent position there, and the continuation with the, what's that agreement called?
Status quo of the employee interchange.
Status quo of the arrangement we have with the county for the employee sharing, if that's the right term. And then to continue also with an option to look at the option that Sharon described with the company that has.
And we could start that February with
Yes.
2 of them, and that way we can start getting to know them and see how they work and see how they complete tasks.
John, do you have that motion?
I think that's.
Yeah, I mean, Marnie's more important to have it, but I understand it, but.
You understand it? Are we okay?
Yeah, I understand, and
Deputy manager, budget,
reallocation of the FTE.
reallocation FTE, continuation with the status quo, and Sharon's company as another option. So those are the 4 primary points of the motion.
Okay, so that you made a motion. Go ahead. Go ahead, Henry.
We voted to hire an outside company to assist us some time ago. We all voted not to do that.
That was Colin Beisinger. This is a different headhunting firm, type of firm, Henry, that.
They don't do that exactly.
All right,
Let
so-
her get the info and she can explain it to you.
So
I just learned about it.
we got a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion, a second. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Okay, Councilmember Mark Gregg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sharon Mahoney,
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Jolin,
No.
Councilmember Henry Rosenthal,
No,
and Mayor Buddy Pinder.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-2.
Okay, we got our orders. Is there anything else, or are we in line for an adjournment here? Unless anybody else.
Move we adjourn?
I would just point out the irony that we wanted a 5-0 vote on choosing someone, but we're okay moving forward with a 3-2 vote. By just pointing it out, it's just somewhat amusing.
I see and respect your observation of the irony, but I believe that hiring a manager is more of a long-term thing. This is only for 2 weeks, so that makes me feel a little more comfortable with it. But I fully respect everyone's position tonight, and I used to say making no decision is better than making a bad decision, and I think on that principle we made the right call tonight. So thank you.
This meeting is now adjourned.